Okay, good morning everybody. I hope you can all hear me. My name is Aylee Richmond and I am an eye care and vision development officer and rehabilitation worker for people with a visual impairment for SeeAbility. And I'm here this morning with Grace McGill, who is from our Kent Support Service in Maidstone, and she's going to be talking to you during the presentation. So just a little bit about SeeAbility. We are a national charity. We've been going since 1799 apparently, so longer than any of us have been here. And we were formerly known as the Royal School for the Blind. We have a recognised expertise in learning disability and sight loss, and that is the core part of what we do. We have a number of eye care resources on our website, which I shall tell you a little bit more about, and we also have a stand here today that you can come and have a look at some of the things that we produce. In 2005, we launched a campaign called Eye to Eye, and this was all about raising awareness about the high prevalence of sight loss amongst people with learning disabilities. This work was so successful that it's become an integral part of what we do, so it's now a core part of our business. In 2011, we created some public health messages to really highlight the needs of people with learning disabilities and sight loss. Those public messages are that adults with learning disabilities are 10 times more likely to have sight loss than the general population. And we also know that people with the most severe or profound learning disabilities are the most likely to have those sight problems. Incidentally, we've also just started working with children. So we now know that children with learning disabilities are 28 times more likely to have sight problems. So these are really big numbers of people. We also know that people may not know they have a sight problem. They may find it difficult to tell other people, particularly if they have some communication difficulties. And many people think the person with a learning disability they know can see perfectly well, that there are no problems at all. We also know that 6 in 10 people with learning disabilities need glasses. But it's not just about wearing a pair of glasses or just going to get a pair of glasses from the optician. It's about getting the right support to help wear them. And that's really important because we hear quite often that this person won't wear their glasses. We've tried and tried, they just won't wear them. And people give up quite quickly. And we need to make sure that people are given the right opportunities and the right support to help them wear their glasses. We also want to tell people that adults with learning disabilities need a sight test once every 2 years at least. Sometimes people need to be seen more often, and that will be advised by somebody's eye care practitioner. We know that regular sight tests and wearing glasses help people stay healthy and get the most from life, because losing your vision is an awful thing to happen, and we want to make sure that people stay healthy and that they continue to have a long life with sight. So a little bit about the eye care and vision team. I'm from the Eye Care and Vision team, and my colleague Stephen Kill, and some of you may well know Scott Watkin, who is famous. Everybody knows him. Unfortunately, they couldn't make it today, which is why you've got me. And we work externally for SeeAbility, and we aim to transform eye care for people with learning disabilities across the country. So we want to make a real difference to the way that people receive eye care. So we provide information and advice. People can do that by phone, by email, contacting us in various ways. We do training and consultancy for a number of different organisations. We provide rehabilitation assessments in visual impairments and functional vision assessments. Those are some of the services that we do charge for, but a lot of what we do is for free. We create easy read resources, which you can see on our stand later today. And we provide liaison with optometrists and eye clinics. So occasionally we will come across a case that we can't ignore, and we will become quite directly involved with that person's case, and sometimes that can take years to resolve. But I wish we could do that for everybody, but it's not always possible. But for those cases that really need our help, we will absolutely be there. We deliver presentations. We exhibit at conferences and events, and we do much more. So these are the kind of people that we work with. So it ranges from the eye care sector, so optometrist, ophthalmologist, orthoptist, anybody that deals with eyes, right through to the learning disability sector. And we also try and work with the NHS England, with clinical commissioning groups, with a number of people that have an interest and make decisions around sight and services. So I'm going to hand over to Grace. Grace is at our Kent Support Service in Maidstone, and she's going to tell you a little bit about her eye care story.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Grace. I had bilateral congenital cataracts which I inherited from my dad, and they were removed when I was 11 months old at Great Ormond Street Hospital. A couple of years ago I needed to use a lot of steroid medications for my eyes, so because I was getting inflammations called scleritis and episcleritis, and there's a picture of the scleritis, which as you can see is quite painful. And basically I needed the steroids to help with those conditions. A couple of years ago in 2013 I was diagnosed with glaucoma, which is when the pressure in the eye goes up too much. This can be caused by using too many steroid eye drops. And it can also cause your sight to deteriorate. Because my sight deteriorated, I got a condition called Charles-Bonnet syndrome, which can cause hallucinations, and you actually think you're going mad, to be honest, sometimes when you've got them, because the ones that I saw were snakes and spiders crawling all over me on the walls, jumping out at me, and it is quite scary. And that picture there shows what Charles-Bonnet syndrome can look like, and it is quite frightening. When I was first diagnosed with Charles-Bonnet syndrome, I didn't tell anybody when I got it because I was worried that people would laugh at me and think I was going mad. But after a while I went to the doctors and was reassured that I wasn't going mad, and it was just because I had a deterioration in my sight. But a lot of people think that Charles-Bonnet syndrome is a mental health condition, and they're wrong. And sometimes mental health professionals or GPs might prescribe you antipsychotic medication, which doesn't do anything for Charles-Bonnet syndrome.
Thank you. Grace is going to talk to us again in a moment. So Grace has been through a huge amount over the course of her life, and eye problems will always feature, so she'll always need to be supported in order to make sure that her eyes stay as well as they can. But there's lots of people that have so many barriers to eye care, and those are some of the things that we want to try and break down. We find that sometimes support teams don't always understand why an eye test is important, that it's something that comes very far down the list of priorities when there's often lots of things wrong with somebody. So it's often one of the last things that gets looked at, but it's so important that it's one of the first. Diagnostic overshadowing is a real problem. So for Grace, she just talked to you a bit about how that can affect you. When Grace had Charles-Bonnet syndrome, this is a condition that affects you when you have a visual impairment. The brain makes up what it thinks should be there because you have a loss of vision. It's absolutely terrifying, as Grace explained. But people thought that you had a mental health problem, diagnostic overshadowing. It can be very easily thought that somebody needs to be sectioned rather than be supported because of their visual impairment. This is why eye care is so important. We often see people being diagnosed with dementia, and actually they have cataracts. It happens all the time, and People need to think of sight as equally as important as all the other issues that somebody can have. Sometimes people find medical appointments really difficult. And sometimes going into the chair where you have your eyes tested, it looks a bit like a dentist chair. It's like all this machinery. It's just really quite scary if you've never experienced that before. We sometimes know there's poor advocacy. Sometimes we know that sometimes the person that's supporting somebody to an eye test is the agency member of staff that's been there with them for half an hour that morning. It's not enough. We need to be supporting people much more effectively. Sometimes the optometrist is at fault. They don't actually receive that much training in learning disability, and poor testing methods and lack of time, 15 minutes usually to get through an entire sight test for most people with a learning disability is just something far too much to ask. Communication difficulties during the eye test, we know that that's a problem with lots of other medical appointments. It's the same with eye tests. Difficulties understanding and sharing the results of an eye test. You yourself that wear glasses, you'll know that when you come out of a sight test, you'll have a prescription with numbers on it. And that doesn't really mean anything to you unless you're an optician. So we need to find a way of communicating what's happened during that eye test more effectively. Access to glasses. Most people can go to the Specsavers or Vision Express and pick a pair of frames that looks nice. For some people with learning disabilities, they're more restricted, because you have to go for the free frames. You know, people don't often spend money on glasses. People should be encouraged to wear something that makes them look good, makes them feel good about themselves. And in some cases, people need specialist frames so that they fit well. And that's not always readily available in your local Specsavers. People might not be referred to appropriate services due to their learning disabilities. So many times I call to ask for somebody to be referred to a sensory impairment team, and then referred to the learning disability team because you mentioned the word learning disability. There are lots of other services in visual impairment that will absolutely benefit people with learning disabilities. So I'm going to hand back over to Grace, and she's going to tell us a bit more about what's important about the eye test.
Everyone can and should have an eye test. Eye tests are every 2 years or more often if the optician says you need them. You can see quite a lot in your eyes about your general health. You can see a lot from your eyes about your general health. You know if you have. The optician can sometimes tell if you've got diabetes or high blood pressure just by looking at your eyes. It's not just about visual impairment that can be seen from an eye test.
We're going to do this bit. Do you want to ask for a volunteer?
Okay.
No, I'll go back to this one. Ask for somebody to come up.
Okay. Can I have a willing volunteer to come up and do a practice sight test?
May not have to be willing, just a volunteer will do.
Alan's going to go up.
Okay, fantastic. Big hand for Alan. Okay, Alan, would you like to come and stand in front of the table for me? If you just move back a little bit, Grace. That's it, come this way, and then if you stand in front of the table so everybody can see you. That's it, come this way. You stand in front of the table for me. That's it. That's brilliant. Okay, Grace, if you come and stand a bit further back to the end of the table, and that's it. That's great. That's lovely. And turn around and face Grace. So I'm going to give you this one. You remember how to do this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Alan, I'm going to stand with you. So these are called K pictures, and these are really simple drawings that the optician will have. And this is a way of somebody that maybe struggles with using letters to have a go using the eye chart instead of using letters. So this is called a matching card. So there are 3 ways that these cards can be used. Somebody can say what they see, they can sign it, or they can point to the picture. Okay, so Alan, I'm going to give you this card. Can you see the picture that Grace is holding up? Fantastic. And let's show everybody else. Alan pointed to this one, so we now know that he's seen that picture, which is fantastic. So, other way.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, which one is, that's lovely. Fantastic. And the next one. Can we find this one? Perfect. See, this is brilliant. That is really fantastic. Thank you very much, Alan. That was brilliant. Thank you very much. So people can have a variety of ways that they can use pictures. So they don't have to be able to read letters to be able to identify those. There are sometimes people that can't communicate, that sometimes have a very short attention span, and you think, I'm not going to be able to get them to do that test, that's just too much for them. So there is another test that you can use called the Cardiff Acuity test. So I'm going to practice with Grace. All you have to do is just stand there. So we have, on the series of cards, we have pictures at the top and at the bottom. So all you do with Cardiff cards is you're just flashing them in front of someone's eyes to look where their eyes go. And if their eyes correspond with the right picture, the theory is that they've seen it. So it would be something like this.
Yeah.
Okay, so Grace looked at the top there. So I'm literally looking for her eye movements. So for somebody with a very short attention span that perhaps has, has more difficulties with issues like sight tests, then this would be a really good test to use. So the Cardiff Acuity test. Thank you very much. Do you want to carry on? So go down to things.
As I said earlier, the optician checks the inside and outside of the eye is healthy, and you can also see other things like high blood pressure and diabetes. Before I did this presentation, I didn't actually know that, so.
Okay, we've done the bit. Okay. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Grace. Right, so reasonable adjustments. This is the most important part of making a sight test work for people with learning disabilities. There are a number of things that you can do. You can ask for a longer appointment, you can ask for more than one appointment, you can visit the practice where somebody's going to go and make sure that they're more familiar with the environment. Go and meet the receptionist, go and meet the optician, come away and go back another time. You can always ask for a quiet waiting area if somebody finds crowds difficult. And if someone needs eye drops to help the optician see the back of the eye better, eye drops that do, if I'm very honest, sting quite a lot.
Yeah, they do.
They do. I've got that on good authority. It's a good idea to ask for an anaesthetic drop to be put in before those drops. Because the dilating drop stings so much, it's very difficult for somebody to want to cooperate after that. So it does help. There's an easy read report after the eye test that we have available on our website. We've got some on our stand today, so do come have a look at those. And you can use our database to help find optometrists in the area, which are more experienced in working with people with learning disabilities. So wearing glasses. Glasses need to feel okay. There are lots of glasses to choose from, and lots of people wear glasses, so like people like Harry Potter, for example. Choose glasses that make you feel good and make sure that they're fitted properly. So specialist frames are sometimes an option for people. So a visual impairment, what do we mean by a visual impairment? So this is something to describe somebody that does not have full eyesight. So this would include people that are registered as severely sight impaired or sight impaired, blind or partially sighted. It does not include people that have refractive error, so people that wear glasses. So we are talking about conditions that can't be corrected with glasses. So some common eye conditions I'm going to whiz through really quickly. Cataracts is the top picture on the slide, and this happens when the lens in the eye becomes very cloudy, a bit like looking through a very dirty window, and very treatable. but they have to be identified to be treated. Glaucoma, which is what Grace had, and this is caused by a high pressure inside the eyes, and it can damage the retina. So this can be a bit like looking down a tunnel. So sometimes people might describe themselves as having tunnel vision. It could be caused by something like glaucoma. Diabetic retinopathy is one of the leading causes of sight loss in the UK today, and this can happen to people who have diabetes due to the high blood sugars that they have. Vision becomes very patchy. So we do have a number of simulation glasses here today that you can try. We will have them on the stand as well, and it gives you a flavour of what it's like. So Grace is now going to give you a demonstration about using eye drops, because using eye drops is really important for lots of people with eye conditions, and sometimes people don't always put them in correctly, and we see rises in eye conditions because they're not being administered in the right way. So, are you happy to give that a go, Grace?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a fact sheet, an easy read fact sheet on eye drops, which is available on our stand. And this tells you the correct way to put in eye drops as supported by the International Glaucoma Association. So what's really important to remember when you put your eye drops in is that you don't put them in where the corner of the eye. You put them further over, because otherwise they just drain straight out. So Grace is just going to show you.
Okay. Most eye drop bottles look like this. You can get eye drops in a single dose form or in a general bottle. Basically what you do is you pull down a lower lid and drop it in.
That's it, well done. Fantastic.
Keep the head back a little, tilted a little bit so that the drops don't run out.
And you can also put your finger on this part of your eye to stop them draining out. Okay, because all your drainage systems are here in your eye. So just hold it back for a few seconds. If you're putting multiple eye drops in, it's important to leave it a couple of minutes between each one.
Yeah.
And then just wipe away any excess. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Grace. That's brilliant. Well done. You did ever so well there. So, now it's... Yes?
Sorry, I just wanted to ask, one thing I tend to do is I want to blink. Can you do that?
You can blink them in, but it's important that they don't drain out. So the main thing is if you want to blink, that's fine, but put your finger on this part of your eye. This is called punctual occlusion. So it stops the drops from just draining out. But you can blink, that's absolutely fine, because then that actually helps them be absorbed. Okay. So now it's your turn to have a go and see how it feels to have some sight problems. So we're going to do an exercise here. We've got a few minutes, so I hope we've got enough time. And just to tell you about stimulation glasses, they can only give you a snapshot of what's going on for someone with a visual impairment. It can't simulate the emotional and psychological effects of how it feels to have a permanent visual impairment. All eye conditions affect people differently. We can take these glasses off. So just remember that most people with a visual impairment will always see in some way like this. And we do not have learning disabilities as well most of us don't. So, the SeeAbility Sweetie Shop Challenge. So everybody loves a treat, we know this. But do you need to be able to see to weigh a bag of sweets? So, what we're going to ask for you to do is we need a willing volunteer to come up, have a go with weighing some sweets out. So you get to eat the sweets, okay? And see whether you can do it under simulation. Don't all crowd us at once. I think Daniel's dying to have a go, but you can come out and have a go in a minute, Daniel. Okay.
Well, nice, Robert.
Hello, Robert. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Okay, if you want to come and stand here for me.
Cool.
So we've got some weighing scales. They're old-fashioned weighing scales here, okay?
Okay.
So I'm going to put a weight on for you. And I'm going to choose, well, you can choose which pair of glasses you'd like to wear. They all have a different eye condition.
Okay.
So which ones do you think you like the look of?
None of them.
Okay, wonderful. So pop those on.
On my eye.
Yep, on your eyes.
Okay.
How does that feel?
Comfy, yeah.
You can't see very well, can you?
Oh no.
Okay, so do you think you can find the sweeties in the jars? You can put your hands out to feel.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
So, do you think you can take the lid off?
Okay.
Okay. And do you think you can pour some onto the weighing scales and see if we can get the scales to balance?
Okay.
Give it a go. Oh, have we done it? What do we think? What do we think? That's brilliant. Okay. So you can see how difficult it is to have something, do any task without sight or limited sight. It takes you much longer, it's more frustrating, and you don't always get the result you want. So we can see there's too many sweets in this one, but it's quite hard to get them to balance when you can't see what you're doing. But I'm going to give you all these sweets today, Robert, okay? So do enjoy those.
I take them home. Yeah.
So now the next challenge, if you put the sweetie jar down for me.
Yep.
Just trying to put them in a
There
bag.
is a paper bag which I've opened for you, so I've helped you a little bit. Okay, the bag's in front of you.
Okay.
Okay, and do you think you can put the sweeties into the bag?
I think so.
Okay, give it a go. Fantastic. Have you got any more left in there?
Two more.
There we go.
I can see one person.
keep going.
And sit down.
That's fantastic. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you. You can take those off now. The glasses off now.
Okay.
Round of applause for Robert. Thank you very much. That's brilliant. And I think Daniel wanted to have a quick go.
Thank you.
I'm really interested, Robert. Are you able to say what you were able to see through those glasses? Because I can see that there's lots of different things.
I can see one person, yeah.
You can see one thing.
Try
One
one.
person.
Come and have a go.
Can
Come
I
and have a
try
go.
one?
Yeah, come and have a go.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's kind of
Thank
like,
you very much,
kind
Robert.
of tunnel vision.
Yeah, this is tunnel vision. So people with very advanced, it's a pretty nasty case of glaucoma, would see things in this way.
My vision,
come and have a
my
go.
glaucoma didn't get like that.
Take them off to claw.
Yeah, don't want any accidents.
Oh, I see.
So we've got some sweets. So you choose. Can you choose which sweets you would like? Okay, fantastic. So that's great. Your arms aren't long enough, are they? Okay, those ones are quite light, so maybe try different sweets as well. Oh, there we go. He's done it. Look at that.
More through
Look at that. That's fantastic.
more through accident than design.
Well done. So now your next challenge is to put the sweeties in the bag. You can either get the scales and tip them. There we go. Oh, well done. Ooh, got one. That's fantastic. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Would you like to have those ones? There we go. Thank you. That's brilliant. So as you can see, just doing some simple everyday tasks can be quite difficult when you can't see or you have limited vision. This activity will be on our stand, so you can come and have a go later on if you want to try it out. So come and look at our stand. We have a wealth of resources there. We have a new website designed, so you can come and see how it all looks. And thank you very much for listening. Were there any quick questions before we disappear? Yes. Okay, so so you want to know that ICE tests why they're not every year?
You did really well.
It's basically Department of Health guidelines.
I know I can do it.
Because the general population should
need to
be
start unclipping.
once every 2 years. But
Stops.
we know that people with learning disabilities are more likely to have sight problems. However, it's still the general guidance, but we would like to see that change. I mean, I personally feel it should be every year, but at the moment, guidelines state every 2 years. Probably because of the cost it would have if people went every year. Any other questions? Okay.